Welcome back to the deep dive. You send us a stack of dense articles, research, and some pretty technical notes.
And we distill it all down.
We do. We find the most crucial, memorable insights, basically giving you the shortcut to being truly well-informed on a topic. And today, strapping in for a deep dive into flight training.
Specifically, winter flight training.
Exactly. We're focusing entirely on the unique pressures and, the surprising perks of learning to fly during the winter months.
At first glance, it just seems awful. Snow, ice, frigid temperatures, it all feels like a massive obstacle.
Right, but the sources you all sent in, they really reveal a deeper truth. Winter flying, it seems, forces the development of some absolutely essential skills.
Skills you just don't get in perfect weather.
So our mission today is to pull out the non-negotiable safety rules, the critical maintenance details, and the genuine performance advantages that cold air offers.
It's so much more than just scraping ice off the wings.
It's physics, engine longevity, and mastering some really complex decision-making.
Okay, let's unpack this crucial trade-off. It's really the central conflict of all the source material, isn't it?
It really is.
A new student pilot, especially somewhere in a northern climate, might see winter coming and just, worry that their whole training schedule is about to grind to a halt.
They see the cancellations, they see the delays, and they just feel like they're losing all that momentum.
Yeah.
And the sources, they absolutely confirm that's a reality. In places with real winters, like the upper Midwest, training momentum definitely takes a hit.
A big hit.
One analysis we looked at highlighted that in some of those northern schools, nearly a third of potential flight training days can be lost entirely to weather.
And that's just for basic flying.
Right. If you're trying to practice specialized maneuvers that need stable air and, VFR minimums, that rate can climb way up, closer to 50%.
Exactly. And beyond just losing days to weather, you're literally battling the calendar.
The sun.
The sun. The shorter daylight hours just squeeze your training time, and it often forces student pilots to tackle their night flying requirements much sooner than they'd probably like.
Just to keep things moving.
Just to keep progressing toward their check ride, yeah.
But I guess the big question is this hardship worth it? The resources were pretty emphatic that, yeah, these challenges actually forge a better, more adaptable pilot.
Oh, absolutely. They make it very clear. Flying in gusty winds, managing marginal visibility, learning to interpret these shifting weather fronts. It forces a new pilot to develop strong, flexible judgment.
Which you just don't get if you only fly in, perpetually perfect weather.
Not at all. If you only train under benign conditions, you miss out on learning how to manage the aircraft when it's near its operating limits.
And there's an immediate practical upside, too, isn't there? The sources all noted that those perfect, clear, cold days...
Oh, the best days.
Yeah, often dominated by high pressure, they deliver some of the smoothest flying conditions of the entire year.
Totally free from that brutal thermal turbulence you get on a hot summer afternoon.
So it's a classic quantity versus quality trade-off, then.
That's a great way to put it. You lose frequency, but the quality of the experience you gain is just immense.
So the consensus isn't that winter flying is particularly hazardous.
No, not at all. It's that it requires patience and extra caution. You seize those clear, cold windows when they pop up, and you use the bad weather days productively.
Ground study, simulator time, planning.
All of that.
Okay, so if we move from the logistics of it to the pure physics of cold air, this is where it gets really interesting for the pilot.
This is the fun part.
The major silver lining for a small training aircraft is that performance boost you get from density.
The difference is, it's dramatic. Air is just denser when it's cold.
Meaning more molecules.
More molecules. For every cubic foot of air flowing over the wing and into the engine, there are more oxygen and nitrogen molecules packed in there.
So on the wing, that means?
More lift. The aircraft generates lift much more effectively. And on the engine side, inhaling that denser air means it generates more horsepower with every single intake stroke.
So your little Cessna 172 or Diamond DA-40, they're going to climb faster.
Climb faster and use significantly shorter takeoff distances than they ever would on a, sweltering July day.
This brings us to that concept of negative density altitude. You hear about density altitude constantly in aviation, but usually as a danger sign in hot weather.
Right, it's usually a warning.
What changes in the cold?
Well, density altitude is just the air density expressed as an altitude.
What?
Normally, density decreases as you climb, but when it's extremely cold, the air can actually be denser than standard sea level density.
So you get a negative number.
You get a negative density altitude. Your aircraft behaves as if it's flying a few hundred feet below sea level.
Wow.
Yeah, the sources, they often mention that pilots feel the plane literally leap off the ground because of this incredible lift and power.
That extra oomph has to be a huge benefit for a student pilot.
Oh, for sure.
But that same cold air brings us to a major risk, a huge one: engine longevity and the critical need for preheat.
This is a non-negotiable safety and maintenance rule. That same extreme cold that gives you amazing performance is actively trying to destroy your engine during startup.
And attempting to start an engine that has cold soaked below, what, 20 or 30 degrees Fahrenheit without preheating
It's
is.
just catastrophic.
And this is where that just shocking fact from the source material comes in: the wear from a single cold start.
The data is,
Hmm.
it's just stark. A single unpreheated cold start can impart as much internal wear on that engine in the first minute
I
as
mean,
approximately 500 hours of normal operation.
500 hours. That's, I mean, to put
Oh,
that in perspective, that's about 2/3 of the typical time before an engine has to be completely overhauled.
and start.
For one 60-second start, that's incredible damage. What is actually failing in there so quickly?
It all comes down to the oil. The engine oil thickens, or in really extreme cold, it actually gels.
Right.
So when you start it up, the oil pump just can't circulate that heavy, thick oil quickly enough.
So you have metal on metal?
You have critical components, main bearings, piston skirts, cylinder walls, running virtually unlubricated for those crucial initial moments. That metal-on-metal friction causes massive, irreversible wear.
So the preventative measure isn't optional.
It is mandatory. Absolutely. The requirements are clear. Use engine heaters. Keep the plane in a heated hangar if you can. Switch to the proper multi-weight winter-grade oil.
And be patient.
And be very patient. Once the engine catches, you allow a lot of time, several minutes at a fast idle, maybe 1,000 to 1,200 RPM, for the oil temp to get into the green and circulate fully. Patience is engine insurance.
Okay, so beyond the sheer cold, we also have to talk about icing risk. But for the engine itself, for anyone flying older planes, like some of the older 172s or Piper Cherokees,
The carbureted one.
all right, there's a constant threat there.
Carburetor icing is so treacherous because it doesn't need freezing temperatures outside.
That's the counterintuitive part.
It is. As air rushes through that carburetor venturi, the fuel vaporizes, which causes a rapid temperature drop. And that drop can cause moisture in the air to freeze, even when the outside air is as warm as 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
As long as the humidity is high enough.
If humidity is high, yeah, it can choke the engine really, really quickly.
So pilots have to be just vigilant about applying carb heat.
Religiously. During the run-up, you check that it works, and anytime you're at low power, especially on a long descent or approach, you should apply it. Just melt away any ice that might be forming,
Even if you don't suspect it.
even if you don't suspect it.
Now, contrast that with the newer aircraft with fuel injection, like the newer DA-40s or high-end Cessnas.
Right, so they avoid carb ice, which is a huge benefit,
Yeah.
but they still need their own kind of preparation.
They can actually run too cold.
Exactly. They're so efficient they can run too cold, which is bad for the components. And this is why the sources talk about using specialized winterization kits.
What are those?
They're usually just cowl blanks or plates that block off part of the oil cooler. They're designed to help the engine reach and, more importantly, maintain its optimal operating temperature in that frigid air.
All right, let's pivot now to what the sources called the icing trifecta, the structural hazards that go way beyond maintenance and become an immediate life safety issue.
This is the big one.
What's fascinating here is just how absolute the FAA's warning is about structural airframe icing.
Yeah, structural icing. So ice building up on the wings, the tail, the prop. It's the single greatest meteorological danger to small general aviation planes.
And most trainers are not equipped for it.
They're not. They're not certified for flight in known icing. They don't have de-icing boots or heated surfaces.
And the effects are immediate and dramatic.
Oh, they are. The numbers from the research are just terrifying. Even a thin, what looks like a minor coating of frost or ice can disrupt the airflow so badly that it reduces lift by 30%.
30%,
And it increases drag by 40%.
which means
It means the aircraft stalls at a much higher speed than normal, or worse. It may not be able to climb at all after you take off.
and we should probably clarify the types of ice. It's not just one thing.
That's a critical point. You've got three main types. Rime ice, which is that rough, milky white stuff. Then there's clear ice, which is transparent and hard.
That's the dangerous one.
That's the most dangerous because it's heavy and it conforms to the wing shape. And then you have mixed ice, But really, it doesn't matter what type it is. The strategy is the same.
Avoidance.
100% avoidance.
Right?
The only safe strategy is to avoid the conditions where it forms entirely.
So, checking your freezing levels aloft during the weather briefing.
Thoroughly. Understanding the extreme danger of freezing rain, that's rain that freezes the second it hits the plane. If you ever accidentally fly into icing conditions, the immediate action is get out.
Turn around, change altitude.
Turn around, descend into warmer air, climb into drier, colder air, whatever it takes. The universal advice for a student is simple. If you even suspect icing conditions en route, you cancel or delay the flight, period.
And that avoidance starts right on the ground. You cannot take off if your plane is contaminated.
Never. The most common pre-flight threat is frost, or a thin layer of snow. You have to budget extra time to de-ice thoroughly.
Whether that's with brooms, fluids, a heated hangar.
Doesn't matter how. The sources are emphatic. The aircraft must be completely clear and dry before you even think about departing. And check the hidden spots, too.
Like control surface hinges.
Hinges, pitot tubes, fuel vents. Trapped moisture there can freeze and just lock up your systems.
So once the plane is finally clear, we still have to deal with the runways and taxiways.
And they demand a completely different technique. Snow, slush, or ice, they just dramatically increase your braking distance and make steering really tricky.
And there was a practical tip about wheel fairings.
Yeah, a lot of flight schools just take them off in the winter. Those wheel pants, they call them.
To stop slush from packing in there.
Exactly. It prevents slush from getting packed inside and then freezing around the brakes, which could lock them up completely.
You also mentioned a key ground technique, don't ride the brakes.
Absolutely not. If you ride the brakes, the friction warms them up. It melts the snow right under the brake pads. Then when you stop,
It refreezes instantly.
and you're frozen to the ramp. You want light, intermittent braking. And use differential thrust for steering when it's slick.
And how do pilots actually know how slick a runway is?
They have to check the airport field condition reports. You'll find them in the NOTAMs, the Notice to Airmen. But the key part is the FICON report.
Field condition report.
Right. It's a standardized way for airports to report what's on the runway
Right.
and, crucially, the braking action they've measured. You need that data before you even think about landing or taking off.
Let's shift our focus now to the person in the cockpit, the human element in the cold,
Yeah, the pilot themselves. The main goal here is just to prevent rushing.
which means dressing properly.
It does. Warm layers, a hat, and gloves that are thin enough so you can still feel the switches and controls. And crucially, insulated non-slip shoes for walking on icy ramps.
Right. A slip could damage you or the plane.
For sure.
Then there's the silent threat that the source is really stressed we have to talk about. Carbon monoxide.
The CO threat is so much higher in winter because we're all cranking the cabin heat.
And that heat comes from where?
In most of these planes, the heat comes from air flowing over the engine's exhaust manifold through something called a heater muff. If that manifold cracks.
You're pumping CO right into the cockpit.
Odorless, colorless, deadly CO, yes.
So what's the protocol?
It is strongly recommended, I'd say it's essential, that you use a CO detector in the cockpit, preferably an electronic one,
Not just your nose.
never just your nose. If you feel dizzy, get a headache, notice any exhaust smell, you turn off the cabin heat immediately and you land as soon as you safely can.
And given the risk of a remote landing in winter, survival gear becomes a necessity.
It's not a suggestion, no. For any cross-country flight in cold, remote areas, you need a proper survival kit.
Blankets, food, matches.
High-energy food bars, a signal device, first aid, and you should plan your routes to stay near major roads when you can. It just makes search and rescue that much faster.
You know, if we connect this all back to the bigger picture, the entire experience of winter training is so defined by geography.
Oh, massively. The experience is completely different depending on where you are.
You look at the Sun Belt, Florida, Texas, Arizona. Winter is their prime flying season.
It is. The low humidity means fewer thunderstorms. High pressure means smooth flying. The sources noted that a place like Las Vegas, historically, weather drops below basic VFR only about 1% of the time. You can fly almost every day.
That's high efficiency training.
Yes.
And then you contrast that with the North where we started.
The upper Midwest, the Great Lakes,
Yeah.
they see the highest cancellation rates, long periods of low IFR conditions because of low clouds, fog, snow. But on the days that do clear up, the aircraft performance is just stellar because of that negative density altitude.
I love that saying from the North Dakota program.
Right. We have just as many VFR days as Florida. They're just a lot colder.
They trade consistency for performance and real-world experience.
Exactly.
And mountains add a whole other layer.
Mountains are complex. You get great sun, but you're also prone to powerful, invisible mountain wave turbulence. And because that cold, crisp air tempts you to fly higher, say above 10,000 feet, you have to be vigilant about hypoxia and needing supplemental oxygen. The cold doesn't change that.
All of this variation, it just means that pilot judgment is the core tool. And that brings us to our final section, adjusting your actual flying technique and your decision-making.
This is really the culmination of it all. You have to go beyond what's legally required. You need to set and stick to your own personal minimum.
Stricter than the FAA's.
Much stricter. For wind, for cloud bases, visibility,
Mm-hmm.
and never let schedule pressure or that get there IOTAS feeling compromise your decision to just stay on the ground.
So what are the critical adjustments for actually landing on a slick surface? The sources got really specific about dehydrating your crosswind.
This is a massive change from fair weather flying. You have so much less friction on the runway, so your control authority is reduced. So you have to degrade your allowable crosswind.
By how much?
If you're landing on a snowy runway, you cut your normal crosswind limit in half. If it's icy, you reduce it down to 25%, a quarter of your normal tolerance.
A quarter, wow.
And you use smooth, precise inputs, no sudden corrections, and you have to be mentally ready for the brakes to do almost nothing.
So if the wheel brakes are unreliable, how are you supposed to slow the plane down?
You rely on aerodynamic braking. You hold the nose up a little longer after you touch down, using the drag from the wing and the prop to slow the aircraft before you gently lower the nose wheel.
Minimizing your reliance on the wheel brakes.
Exactly.
And finally, logistics. Unpredictable weather means you need options, and options mean fuel.
Always, always err on the side of extra fuel. In winter, the sources recommend at least an hour of reserve, well beyond the standard, because diversions are just so much more likely.
And file a flight plan.
Always. Use a VFR flight plan or get flight following from air traffic control. In cold, remote areas, that one step is absolutely critical for getting help faster if you have an unplanned landing.
Okay, so to summarize this whole deep dive, winter training demands, well, a ton of discipline, intense preparation, and a healthy dose of patience.
A very healthy dose.
But the rewards seem to be this unparalleled skill development. It forces you to become an expert decision maker, and you get the thrill of superb aircraft performance on those clear, crisp days.
Respect the winter, prepare diligently, and you really will reap the benefits.
What stands out to you after going through all this? For us, I think it's the sheer impact of the cold on the engine, that 500-hour wear statistic. That's a fact that just immediately changes how you think about winter flying.
For me, my final thought connects those delays, those weather cancellations, to a huge opportunity. Since those northern and coastal regions get so much more actual IFR weather in the winter, low ceilings, fog, clouds, the time you spend grounded should be seen as academic time.
Don't waste it.
Don't waste it. Use that downtime. Use those marginal days to start or advance your instrument rating. Learning to actually navigate in the clouds is the single most productive way to turn a weather cancellation into valuable, future-proof flight experience.